Antibiotics for nausea and sleepiness. Ask about Wrdw. Thanks for watching News 12 on your side. You're watching News 12 on your side.
From the station that's on your side, this is News 12 at 6 o'clock.
Deadly flash floods wash over parts of Pennsylvania overnight. Then doctors out west are warning parents about the extreme heat. We'll take a look at those stories coming up here shortly. But first, a small Georgia community is making sure their neighbors are taken care of. The Medical Reserves Corps of Augusta traveled to Blythe today for their first health fair since the pandemic. Our Sydney Hood shows us how much this means to leaders and more.
Here at Bath Gardens, the plants are growing and so is the access to health care. For the first time since COVID, the Medical Reserve Corps are on site giving folks health care access. It's an area that doesn't get this type of care on a regular basis. Healthcare workers offered various services, including blood pressure checks and body mass index numbers.
We want to engage the public in wellness. One of the biggest problems during the COVID is that people were not able to see their regular physicians, and some people haven't even seen a doctor for 3 years.
Which is why education is so key here when it comes to opportunities and access to health care. Coming up all new tonight on News 12 at 11 o'clock, we'll hear more on why it is so important to keep in check with your health. And Blythe.
Alrighty, thanks for that, Sydney. And now moving things over to the weather side, where it's back to normal patterns with the sun coming up today. First Alert meteorologist Emily Acton is here now. And Emily, how's our upcoming week looking as we get to the end of the month? I can't believe it's already middle of July right now.
Yeah, man, you just said that, the middle or the end of the month. That's crazy. Yeah, things were a lot more pleasant this afternoon, so thankful for that. Saw some cloud cover out there, still hot though. Can't escape that heat. Right now it's 93 in North Augusta, feels like 97, so that heat index will really get you out there. But taking a look across the CSRA, heat index is in those upper 90s, some places those triple digits, but this is actually kind of a cooler day, if you can believe it, than what we've seen really the past couple of days. Things are dry for our area, some showers down to the south, really in South Georgia and even in the states of Florida, and then again some off to our west. But we're going to be mostly dry throughout the rest of the evening. A small chance of an isolated shower passing by, but again, we're going to be mostly dry. Going to be mostly cloudy though overnight tonight, and that's going to keep us relatively warm for our overnight lows, Craig. But we have I don't want to say wild pattern, but we have lots of things to talk about coming up in full weather, so you're gonna have to stay tuned.
Already looking forward to it. Well, doing some forecasting on the road, we noticed a bit of construction on I-20 this afternoon right outside of our station. GDOT's 511 map shows there's a bit of construction going on in both directions. 2 out of 3 lanes heading towards Atlanta blocked and expected to end within the next hour, and 1 blocked heading towards Columbia. That may take till tomorrow morning to finish up, but we're going to continue looking at this as it progresses. Over to the Richmond County Coroner's Office, where they're now investigating a murder that happened this weekend. They say 28-year-old Walter Smith was shot at least once on Lumpkin Road last night. Deputies found Smith just before 5 p.m. when they responded to a suspicious situation. We reached out to the sheriff's office again, but no word yet on what led up to Smith's death. An autopsy has been scheduled. And water crews from Aiken County are issuing a water boil advisory for 3 specific places. They say someone digging on Woodward Drive damaged the main water line. Now there's an outage in Montmorency, Deodar, and Fox Haven areas, and crews drain the water tanks, and they're advising neighbors to boil their water until midnight. Within 3 days of a young Alabama woman going missing, Hoover officers say she's been found. They say the 911 center got a call around 10:45 p.m. that 25-year-old Carly Russell turned back to her home. Officers quickly stopped by to investigate, and first responders evaluated Carly and took her to a nearby hospital for evaluation. This is some of her family and friends waiting outside the front doors once they heard the news. An officer did get a statement from her as well, but no word yet from them on what she said. They say it's all part of the ongoing investigation. Plus, after a 24-hour manhunt, U.S. Marshals say they shot a 41-year-old man accused in the latest mass shooting. In a recent press conference, several Georgia agencies confirmed Andre Longmore is dead. The search started yesterday after officials found 4 people dead in a subdivision. Just in the last hour, Clayton County authorities say they found him this afternoon. They say there were 2 separate shootings with some officers injured, but they're expected to be okay. Before this, many of the neighbors expressed how concerned they were for their safety, and one man says when he heard shots ring out next door, he felt a little confused.
As I just about to open up the window, I heard fire. When I open up the window, I see my man arms is up and he's coming back down. And I'm like, whoa. And I was kind of confused. Why ain't my neighbor stepping on the gas? Well, he ain't stepped on the gas because he been hit. And when that car went, he went swoop like that and then slowed down and then tried to pick up again. I knew the shot was good.
Officers identified the victims this afternoon as well, and most of them are in their 60s and 2 of them were a couple. No word yet on what led up to this shooting. High heat is once again affecting tens of millions of people in the U.S. Eastern Pennsylvania officials also saw deadly flooding to the northeast. Wendy Gillette has the latest.
A flash flood turned deadly, sweeping as much as 5 feet deep waters onto a road near a stream in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, Saturday evening. A family from Charleston, South Carolina, on the way to a barbecue, was caught in the water.
Mass casualty incident like these, which we have never seen before, unbelievable and devastating to all the families involved. We are all grieving.
Heavy rain and flooding forced this road to buckle in Hillsborough, New Hampshire. In Elmsford, New York, Sunday, high water stopped this car in its tracks, and it was a similar scene in Waterbury, Connecticut. In Austin, Texas, many jumped in the water, trying to escape temperatures hitting 105 degrees. But doctors warn just taking a dip isn't enough when it's that hot.
Don't assume that being in a pool is cooling you off enough. You have to drink the right amount of fluid.
Heat warnings extend from Miami to Mesa, Arizona to Sacramento, where pet owners are watching out for their 4-legged friends.
When you're unsure if it's too hot to walk your dog, we like to recommend touching the ground, the asphalt, with the back of your hand. If it's too hot for the back of your hand, it's definitely too hot for your pet's paws.
Contact burns are also a danger for children as the heat causes surface temperatures to spike.
As hot as a frying pan. Temperatures between 140 and 160, which would be just a couple of seconds, will cause deep injuries to a small hand.
The air alone in Death Valley National Park in California is hot enough to fry your skin.
I've never experienced this kind of heat. No, it's really hot.
According to the National Weather Service, more than 100 million people, nearly a third of all Americans, are under heat alerts. Wendy Gillette, CBS News.
And there were multiple ground stops today at airports in the Northeast because of thunderstorms. According to FlightAware, there were more than 2,000 cancellations in the U.S. and over 6,000 delays. California crews are working to contain a widespread fire just before next week starts. It started out as a brush fire yesterday near Gavilan Hills, and that's east of Paris, California. And the fire crews are about 150 acres, they're saying, are being burned, and one firefighter suffered a non-life-threatening injury while trying to douse the flames. So far, it's not contained and heading towards more buildings. A shelter is in place for people in the area as well. And New York officers wrapped up searching a serial killer's suspect home over the weekend. Rex Heuermann is accused of killing 4 women back in the 2010s. Investigators say they found their remains dumped in burlap sacks, and they say a sample of his DNA matched the evidence officials recovered from 3 of the victims. A crowd continued to watch officers search his home well into the night, and some shared how they're feeling about his arrest in this more than decade-old case.
I'm hopeful that this guy is the guy who did them all, who killed all the girls, and this thing is totally resolved.
It's really frightening. It is. You know, this is our community, and to think this guy was roaming around our community for so long, it's truly frightening.
Right now, Heuermann is pleading not guilty to 3 counts of first-degree murder and 3 counts to second-degree murder. And pilots with United Airlines reached a tentative agreement on a new 4-year contract. The new deal will give pilots a substantial pay raise up to 40%. The Airline Pilots Association says it also includes better retirement benefits, job security, and more. It's now an agreement that ends a 4-year stalemate, but the union's 16,000 members still must approve the deal first. A A year ago today, leaders introduced a simplified phone number for those in a mental health crisis. Developers introduced 988 to be easier to remember, as it used to be known at the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. A new poll from the National Alliance on Mental Illness shows that only 17% of people surveyed known about it, and they found 18 to 29-year-olds are more likely to have it on hand. Developers are hoping as people share the 3-digit number, it's going to save more lives. Coming up, one woman shows you can collect almost anything you set your heart on. We'll see how she's building a professional wardrobe and why. Emily?
Well, things are looking dry right now. A couple of isolated showers, but how's the rest of our evening going to shape up? And I'll have a look at our 7-day also, but make sure that you stay tuned after the break for your full forecast.
Taking into a live look at downtown Augusta, it's just been a beautiful summer day. The heat is definitely picking up. Toss things over to First Alert meteorologist Emily Acton. How is it looking for our week ahead?
Well, Craig, things are pretty good for now. We're definitely going to see good sky conditions. Going to see plenty of sunshine mixed with some clouds out there, but the heat, that is definitely the next big topic for our work week. Really going to be seeing temperatures possibly in the triple digits, and that is the actual temperature. Feels like easily going to be anywhere from 105 to 110 in some places. So again, a very hot week in store for us, and we're going to be dry for most of it. We'll get our fair share of rain though by the time the end of our week comes, but again, we're dry right now for the most part. Again, a couple of isolated showers, but that main rainfall is down to our south and then places to our west over in the states of Louisiana and Mississippi. But again, here's a closer look at what we're seeing. Really mostly dry and isolated pop-up shower in one of our southern and eastern counties, but overall we are mostly dry. This is the current temperatures right now, so in the 90s, lower to middle 90s, and actually I feel like that's a little bit cooler than what we've seen the past couple of days, believe it or not. But we're going to be dry for the rest of our evening. Maybe an isolated shower. I'm talking maybe 5% chance of a quick shower moving through. Going to be mostly cloudy overnight. It's going to help keep us pretty warm. Overnight low is going to be in the middle 70s. Then for our day tomorrow, going to see some broken clouds out there. So we're going to see the sun at times warming up into those middle 90s, and then could see a stray shower or two. But again, I don't even have that on the 7-day. It's kind of a understood 10% chance of rain every day just for these summer months. But as we get into the day Tuesday, things are looking mostly sunny. Tuesday is going to be a very warm day, good day to get outdoors. Now, I want to take a look at the tropics. This is subtropical storm Dawn, and this is what we kind of call a fisherman's storm. It is just out in the middle of the Atlantic, really not super strong. Expecting, though, to strengthen into this, it's tropical depression Dawn. Expected to strengthen into tropical storm Dawn over the next couple of days. Nonetheless, it's not impacting any land, so just kind of wanted to throw it out there. But we're starting to make a little bit of a dent in the storm names. We have Arlene, Brett, Cindy, and Dawn. Next up is Emily. So that one will be interesting to see. But here's our rain chances for the next 5 days. Again, we're starting off low, really a understood 10% chance. Then we're going to get a little bit more once we get into Thursday and Friday. Friday and Saturday going to probably be our next best chance of some widespread rainfall, but nonetheless, it's only 30% at that. Temperatures are going to be flirting with those triple digits when we get into the middle of our week, so very, very warm. I want to emphasize, definitely need to be staying hydrated and have ways to stay cool over the next couple of days, Craig. Again, it's middle of July. We can expect these warmer temperatures.
Alrighty, thanks for the heads up, Emily. Well, the internet helped a Dallas woman's collection obsession take off. Most people don't get too excited to shop for uniforms, but Noelle Walker explains how Deborah Brown isn't like most people with her collection.
I've got them back to 1950s for American Airlines. Pack your bag for a quick trip back in time. Yeah, even if it's my memory. I have always been into vintage clothing for years. In here, vintage is current. C for travel. This I only put on for special occasions. The boots are very rare.
These boots were made for flying.
And here's Brandon Emilio Pucci with the umbrella. I mean, that's what was so special about Brandon.
Designer label flight attendant uniforms.
And here we are.
Deborah Brown got hooked at a Braniff fashion show.
And then they've even made me an honorary flight attendant. So went home and started shopping on eBay. About 12 times a day, at least.
That's a lot of uniforms.
I mean, we may get a knock at the door right now. I'm expecting a package today.
She has 122 uniforms.
My Trans-Texas Airlines.
From 22 airlines.
This is Pan Am. Edith Head designed their outfits. TWA had Ralph Lauren.
Many.
I have the space helmet for Braniff.
No longer fly.
So it was a whole different, time frame. And there was glamour. People dressed up to go on the plane. So these are pretty valuable.
Uniform shopping has never been so glamorous.
Well, what other uniforms are there? Waitress uniforms? They're pretty interesting too, I'm sure. Don't get me started. I may start on that.
She'd need a bigger guest room for that.
Girl, I am trying to collect the whole collection.
Real blast of the past there. Well, still ahead, leaders from Washington, D.C. honor 6 veterans, all who served in the Navy during 2 wars in history. We'll hear how the family feels about the recognition.
Crab Fest. Lexus Acura Infinity.
Well, between World War II and Vietnam, 6 immigrant brothers, all pictured right here, served in the U.S. Navy, and the family sacrifice and service is now on display at the Navy Memorial in Washington, D.C. As Washington correspondent Rian Henson takes us through their background, he checks in with the family on what this means for them.
From 1945 to 61, the Wrdw brothers protected this country.
The oldest one, Uncle Sam, actually quit high school to join the military in 1945 because his best friend was killed in service.
Sam, Chuck, Bill, James, Carl, and Dick, the sons of Italian immigrants from Bellevue, Ohio, all sailed into battle because of their love for country. Organizers at the Navy Memorial say they've seen families with multiple family members serving in the Navy, but to have 6, that's rare.
I don't know that there's ever been 7, but until somebody tells me different, the record is 6 siblings in one family serving in the United States Navy.
Ohio Congresswoman Marcy Kaptur represents the area in Ohio where the Wrdws called home. Kaptur played an integral part in bringing the World War II Memorial to D.C. This weekend, her office set up tours in D.C. for the family.
So this is a family that understands the price of freedom. And that is the strength of our country. That is the strength of our country, to put themselves forward for the sake of the nation.
This memorial is a culmination of 6 lifetimes of service that warms the hearts of generations of Wrdws.
There are 50 of us that came out from Ohio and various parts of the country to accept this honor, to be here, to honor our fathers. It means everything to our family.
In Washington, I'm Ryan Henson.
Thanks for that, Ryan. And with the help of family and friends and the community, the Wrdws donated $10,000 to the Navy Memorial. Well, families from Metro Atlanta got a chance to help some kids feel confident before the upcoming school year. The famous footwear in McDonough, was one of 5 stores nationwide that gave roughly 65 foster kids a shopping spree with the Ticket to Dream Foundation. One man who works through a child placing agency says the goal was to relieve the financial burden on foster parents and the kids in any way they could.
Children do not feel comfortable if they don't have the supplies that they need. They're focused on that inefficiency, that deficiency. They have been displaced and they lose a lot of things along the way. They don't sometimes get a lot of the support that they really need.
Some foster parents who came say they are thankful for the extra help because so many of the kids don't get to have this experience. Alrighty, and coming up in sports, the Braves and Green Jackets end their first series back from the All-Star break, and we bring you the latest coming up next.
On your sideline, sports brought to you by the Hawk Law Group.
The Braves and Sox met for the final time this series, And this season, it's the first time the two met since 2019, that year that's constantly referred to by us as the normal before our now, new normal. The 4-year hiatus gave us everything we were missing and also some things that we will probably be happy to forget about come tomorrow morning. Not the best Sunday start for Colby Allard. In 5 hits in the top of the second, the Sox tied on 4 runs, got a shovel and dug a hole the Braves just couldn't climb out of. This will let it sink in, embrace it. This was the only time the Braves crossed the dish, courtesy of Matt Olson. It only got worse for wear. Braves dropped the series with an 8-1 ending. The last time a score like this popped up on your screen was back in May in a 3-game skid against LA. Green Jackets ending their own trip to Fayetteville. The Woodpeckers picked up 3 in the 4th and 3 in the 7th. Jeremy Celandonio brought in their only runs with a right center homer. In the 9th, they had home, taking out 1 of the 3. Craig?
Alrighty, thanks for that, Alyssa. But before we take a look at your final forecast, one singer is getting the Federal Reserve's attention. Philadelphia officials are crediting Taylor Swift for how much money the Eras Tour is bringing in for tourism. They saw an increase in hotel revenue during her stop, and Chicago officials say her June concerts set an all-time record high for their industry. Swift recently extended her tour, announcing dates in South America, Asia, Europe, Australia, and more. Crazy stuff there. I'm not a Swiftie myself, but I kind of like that song, Karma. Emily, any Swift songs you got on the mind? Or?
Honestly, no.
No, not at all, not even one.
I'm trying to think. Oh, you put me on the spot. What is it? Shake It Off.
Teardrops
you gotta
on
let
my
the
guitar.
Swifties
Okay,
go
that's
soon, or else they'll come after you.
That's the one.
Hey,
yeah, Teardrops on My Guitar. That's gonna be the one I pick. I like that one. Switching though to this week's forecast. We're going to be pretty warm this week. Hot. Let's just go ahead and say that. Gonna possibly see triple digits by the middle of our work week. And again, heat index is going to be way above that. So anywhere from 105 to 110. And that's the feels like temperature. So make sure that you're staying hydrated for the next week or so.
Well, thank you for joining us here on News 12 at 6 o'clock. Join us for more news, weather, and sports coming up at 11 before you start your week.
From the station that's on your side, this is News 12, NBC 26 at 11.
Authorities shot down and killed a mass shooting suspect just a day after he ran away. We'll cover what happened in a community in mourning their own in a moment. But first, a local organization serves a smaller community today. The Medical Reserve Corps of Augusta visited Blythe this afternoon to provide screenings and more to those who may not have had those resources close by. Our Sydney Hood stopped by to see what this means to the people they served. And Sydney, what was it like there today at today's health fair?
Well, Craig, it's not about the health of the plants, but the health of the folks who live around Bath Gardens. Healthcare workers from the Medical Reserve Corps were on site, providing services from blood pressure checks to general tips on how to prepare in case of an emergency. At Bath Gardens, the plants are growing.
What's your blood pressure usually run?
And so is the access to health care.
It's kind of low. My blood pressure runs low, and I just was curious as to what it was because I don't check it at home.
100 over 82. Very good. Well, we're going to talk about your blood pressure and weight management.
Okay.
We want to engage the public in wellness.
It's not as easy as it sounds.
One of the biggest problems during the COVID is that people were not able to see their regular physicians, and some people haven't even seen a doctor for 3 years.
Because access for some is not what it is for others.
Not a whole lot of people can get out into Augusta or, places like that. And if you have it close to where they live, they're more apt to come out and get their health checked.
So, what's the secret to good health?
It's about being prepared. It's about having a plan for wellness.
And preparation is key.
It's about getting people thinking about preparedness so that nothing takes them by surprise. This is just an example of what you can have to go in your go bag.
We've got grandchildren, and we were thinking that's really good that we can share that with our children who need to be prepared for things in their own homes, and we do ourselves as well.
And the Medical Reserve Corps are planning on doing these health fairs on a quarterly basis at Bath Gardens, bringing healthcare access more often to an area that doesn't receive it on a regular basis.
Healthcare access outside. Sounds like a good way to incentivize people to come out. Thanks for that, Sydney. Now taking things over to Emily Acton over at the Weather Center, First Alert meteorologist. You know, it rained yesterday. It was mostly dry today. What's it going to be looking like for the rest of our week ahead?
Well, Craig, kind of a little mix of everything, but starting off our week, we're going to be very hot. I mean, overnight tonight, really not going to cool off too much. Right now, temperatures are in those middle and upper 70s. Some places still in the 80s for this hour, but we'll drop down a few more degrees, but nonetheless, things are going to be hot and mostly dry. There's a couple of isolated showers in the southeast at this hour, but again, us here in the CSRA, things are mostly dry, and that's going to stay true overnight tonight. But the heat, that is the biggest story, Craig, of what we can expect over really the next 3 to 4 days. But I mean, the summer months, we all need to know these things. So I just kind of want to go over heat dangers real quick. Heat exhaustion versus heat stroke. Heat exhaustion, you can have those symptoms like fainting, dizziness, you're more cool, pale, clammy skin. Now, if you have a heat stroke, you're more red, dry skin, and sometimes you may lose consciousness. So it's really important to know the difference between those two and make sure that you seek medical attention if you need to.
Alrighty, thanks for the heads up, Emily. Looking to the full forecast later. And deputies from Henry County say 41-year-old man accused of killing 4 people this weekend is dead. The search started yesterday when Hampton officers responded to an active shooter situation in a subdivision. By the afternoon, they were identified with Andre Longmore as the prime suspect. Officials say they found Longmore today just after 1:30 p.m. in Clayton County. They say he tried to run away, but officers and Henry County deputies exchanged gunfire with him in 2 separate places. Henry County Sheriff says there are a couple of officers injured, but most of them had non-life-threatening injuries. The mayor spoke last, thanking all the deputies, officers, U.S. Marshals, and GBI agents who joined the search, but also says now is the time to remember the victims who died.
It's about their families, and it's about the community. On July the 15th, a tragedy befell our community. This event caused our citizens to be anxious and on high alert. However, during this time, we did what Hampton does. We took care of each other.
Authorities also shared the names of the 4 people who died, all of them between the ages of 65 and 67. Officials are not ready to reveal what led up to the shooting just yet. Well, Richmond County deputies are investigating what led up to shots fired in South Augusta. They say it happened at the Get and Go off of Rozier Road and Windsor Spring Road around 3:10 p.m. Deputies learned an unknown man fired at another one in the parking lot, but they say both of them left before deputies got there. No word from deputies yet if they found or have identified those that were involved. And the Richmond County coroner says a 28-year-old man is dead after an incident over the weekend. They identified Walter Smith as the person deputies found on Lumpkin Road when they responded to calls for suspicious activity last night. Officials say Smith was shot at least once, but no updates yet on what led up to his death. Over to Aiken County, where public safety officers are providing an update on the search for a missing teen. 3 days in, and some neighbors are forming their own search parties to find Aiden Conister. Officials say they can't release any more details yet, but they are still looking for him. They're asking you to call the Department of Public Safety if you or anyone you know has information on him. Some heavy rain in Pennsylvania brought a deadly flash flood. Officials heard reports of one hitting eastern parts of the state last night, where some cities saw between 6 to 7 inches of rain in less than an hour. They say 5 people died and 2 siblings are still missing. CBS reported the kids are from the Charleston area, and search teams continue to search for them and rescue anyone caught in the high water. An anticipated civil trial related to Alex Murdaugh's family is canceled. Our sister station in Charleston reports a corporation involved in the lawsuit settled out of court. This is for the Mallory Beach wrongful death case, where Alex Murdaugh's son, Paul, and the Parker's Corporation are being accused of being responsible for her death back in 2019. Beach died in a boat crash that was driven by Paul, and investigators say surveillance video captured him purchasing alcohol from one of the corporation's stores before the accident with his brother's ID. The corporation will give Beach's family $15 million in the settlement. And today became the last day Georgians, state leaders, and other officials could pay their respects to a civil rights activist and teacher from the Atlanta area. The Ebenezer Baptist Church held Dr. Christine King Ferris's funeral earlier this evening after they held a faith ceremony for her yesterday. Pews were filled with people who came to remember her legacy as a teacher, the older sister of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and her life before she passed away in June. Senator Raphael Warnock and even the Atlanta mayor came to reflect.
An entire city mourns with the family today, and we are praying for your comfort. As a son of Atlanta, I grew up with the belief that the King family was royalty. Our royalty.
Dr. Ferris started teaching in the Atlanta public school system, and after serving for 8 years, she returned to Spelman College, her alma mater, and soon became one of the longest tenured professors there. Still to come, missing Alabama woman returns home after authorities started to investigate her strange disappearance. We'll see what authorities know, as well as what others believe happened after a short break.
Our First Alert has always given you the edge against severe weather. And now, with our new First Alert radar network, First just got even faster. This is the most advanced weather radar around, filling in the gaps that have plagued our area for years. With up to 10 times the resolution of other local radars and technology that can pinpoint right down to your street. No other station can provide you with this type of enhanced weather coverage. You'll only find it here, putting your family safety first with the First Alert radar network. First just got faster.
When I need a pair of running shoes,
A Hoover, Alabama woman who vanished after being reported missing with a toddler walking alone on the side of the highway is finally home. Officials say 25-year-old Carly Russell returned there last night, 2 days after a massive search for the nursing student. Still, CBS News' Astrid Martinez takes a look at what one social media post claims happened to her.
After a desperate 2-day search, 25-year-old Carly Russell is safe. Police say she returned home alone on foot last night.
We got a 911 call, came from her residence, at which is her parents' house, at 9:45, stating that she was home, and of course our folks got over there as quickly as we could.
This morning, Russell's family was outside a hospital in Birmingham, where medical professionals evaluated her. A man who says he's a close friend of Russell posted on Instagram she was literally fighting for her life for 48 hours. He goes on to characterize her disappearance as a kidnapping, adding until she is physically and mentally stable again, she's not able to give any updates on her kidnapper. Shortly after, Russell's mother posted on Facebook thanking God for her return. Police are working to determine where the nursing student has been since Thursday night, when she called 911 and then a relative to report seeing a child alone on the side of the dark highway.
We're sure that she called 911 from the interstate, and we're sure that a few minutes later, when the police arrived, she was not there, and there wasn't a cop with her either.
Russell's car and some of her belongings, including her cell phone and Apple Watch, were found at the scene, but no sign of a child.
Russell's parents told the NBC affiliate in Birmingham that they believe that the child she reported missing on the side of the road was used as bait to lure her out of her car. Astrid Martinez, CBS News, New York.
Back over to Pennsylvania now, where a couple and their dog are taking credit for finding an escaped inmate. State officers just brought Michael Burham back in after he escaped from a jail in Warren County last week. The couple says their dog started barking as they ran down a creek in their backyard last night. They even talked to Burham before quickly turning around in their golf cart.
And we go down there, and there's a gentleman sitting at the bank, and I said, "What are you doing?" He says, "Camping." And I looked at him, and I seen all the pictures and stuff. I'm like, "No." And I told her, and luckily, she was behind me in the golf cart, and she says, "Stop, you're going to run me over." I'm like, "We need to get back to the house." As we're driving up, I says, 911, call 911.
Very strange occurrence indeed. And Burham does have ties to South Carolina. The latest charges against him involve an alleged kidnapping back in May, when South Carolina officials initiated a manhunt that lasted for 4 days. A Warren County official says he'll leave the jail after this weekend, but no word yet on where he's going to be transferred to. There are a few Washington, D.C. leaders coming to Augusta this week. Tomorrow morning, Senator John Ossoff will hold a news conference in downtown Augusta to deliver the CSRA Economic Opportunity Authority a recent grant. He secured $14.9 million for their early childhood development program. Then, First Lady Jill Biden is expected to visit on Tuesday to meet with city leaders. Emily?
Well, 3 words to describe our work week: Hot, humid, and dry. I'll have your full forecast, though, coming up after the break.
How can anyone love a cat more than a dog?
Because cats are adorable.
Debatable.
Did you get that GIF I sent you? Oh, the GIF? I definitely sent you a GIF.
What is the point of decaf coffee when you don't want to have the jitters? Then just don't drink coffee.
It's pronounced GIF.
I like window seats.
But if the window breaks, you get sucked out.
Hybrid, plug-in hybrid, EV, to each their own, electric. Get offers on select vehicles at the Lexus Golden Opportunity Sales Event.
Get special offers on the 2023 ES350.
Is a new title really necessary?
Associates of South Carolina.
Well, conditions are going to be hot.
Clear, it's in clear.
Your safety comes first with the First Alert Radar Network. First just got faster.
Closed captioning for this newscast brought to you by Hearing Associates of South Carolina.
Well, conditions are going to be hot, humid, and dry for our work week, for most of our work week. Let me correct myself there. Could see some showers by the end of the week, but again, going to be brutally hot throughout this week. It must be the middle of July or something. So conditions are dry for now. Overnight, things are going to stay calm, so that's some good news. Things are mostly clear, too. But I'm expecting some cloud cover to start to move into the CSRA really over the next couple of hours or so. And that's going to help us stay pretty warm overnight tonight. Right now, current temperatures are in those 70s. Some places haven't even gotten out of the 80s yet. And we'll only cool off a few more degrees. So the overnight low is going to be anywhere from those middle to maybe even lower 70s in some of those luckier spots. But again, cloud cover expected to move across our area this overnight. And then for tomorrow morning, could see a couple isolated showers by the afternoon, but again, going to be mostly dry. I don't even have a chance of showers on the 7 days. Just kind of understood, hey, maybe about a 10% chance of rain every day because again, it's July, very typical for us here in the South. And then as we go throughout the day, Monday, things are still warm, but looking better for our overnight hours. We'll cool off into the lower 70s for Tuesday morning. Gonna see plenty of sunshine throughout the day. Tuesday, gonna be warming up into those upper 90s. Tuesday might be the first day that some places locally could see the triple digits. And that is for the actual temperature. Feels like definitely gonna be warmer than that. So be sure that you are hydrating now. Now is the time to be doing that. I want to take a quick look at the tropics. We do have a tropical depression dawn. Now, really not putting too much emphasis on this because, again, I'm expecting it to be, or it is going to be a fisherman storm. Might strengthen into a tropical storm strength, but overall, again, not going to have any impacts on land. So just kind of wanted to check in there with that. But really, rain chances and heat, lack of rain chances and heat, I should say, is the main story throughout the next 7 days. But really, again, Monday through Wednesday, low rain chances, really low rain chances Thursday too, and there we go, Tuesday through Thursday. That's when we can expect those high temperatures to be right around 100 degrees. So again, feels like going to be even warmer than that. So very hot week in store for us. I know I've repeated that several times, but again, most people are getting out in the sun, summertime activities. It's going to be brutal.
As someone from Virginia and DC, you can't say that it's hot enough, Emily. Thanks for the heads up. Over to the movies where Tom Cruise.
On your sideline, sports brought to you by the Hawk Law Group.
This week, SEC coaches will be doing a lot of talking from the quarterbacks, the new coaches on the staff, the expanded playoffs. Don't forget the new schedule format for when Oklahoma and Texas join. There's going to be a lot of run-on sentences, and the biggest one starts with the Dogs. Kirby Smart is in a position to do something that hasn't been done since Minnesota in 1936, a three-peat. But who will lead the Dogs back to the national stage? That hasn't been announced yet. Well, you have Carson Beck and Brock Vandagriff, but neither of them are slated to hit the podium in Nashville, so don't bet on Coach Kirby giving us a hint. Brock Bowers, Kamari Lassiter, and Van Pran might, but I'm sure they're going to be sworn to secrecy.
We're not trying to be a one-hit wonder. We want to put a really good football team out there each year, and we're well on our way to doing that this time. We've probably got the most cohesive unit we've had in terms of The guys love being with each other. They like practicing hard.
Decision making is the number one thing I want to see at the quarterback position. Can you make consecutive decisions over and over that don't cost our team games? Because we have enough playmakers and we have enough plays that you will make a play inevitably.
Now, there's other questions on the table for Georgia, like Mike Bobo, how he's making his transition to offensive coordinator, their continued recruiting success, and more questions to that accent of a player and staffer on January 15th. As for a school that won't have any QB1 questions, the Gamecocks are staying confident with Spencer Rattler, who, might I add, no one thought besides Shane Beamer would make it to the 2023 media days. It's also year 3 for Beamer, ending the season with big wins, have the Gamecocks trending upwards in preseason polls, but there could also be something in the water in Columbia. Multiple players have entered the transfer portal, including Marshawn Lloyd and Jaheim Bell. New offensive coordinator Dow Loggins will have his work cut out for him.
Still trying to figure out who we have, the personnel we have, what run schemes we're good at, just working through all of that stuff. You know, when you practice, you get 2 special teams periods, 2 team periods, and the ones are taking 12 to 14 reps a day. So it's a long process of trying to figure out those things. It is constantly moving, and all of a sudden, like, you go down rabbit holes with like, hey, oh, we're good at this. Well, let's also do this, this, and this, and it kind of, well, we got to get back to this, and that.
The Gamecocks also promoted one of their analysts to be its new offensive line coach. They'll need all the help they can get. South Carolina has one of the toughest schedules this season. Kirby Smart hits the podium on Tuesday. We get a day to take it all in before Shane Beamer takes charge on Thursday. Dan and I will have all your coverage here. Not the best Sunday start for Colby Allard. In 5 hits in the top of the second, the Sox tied on 4 runs, got a shovel and dug a hole the Braves just couldn't climb out of. This, well, hey, let it sink in, embrace it. This was the only time the Braves crossed the dish, courtesy of Matt Olson. It only got worse for Ware. Braves dropped the series with an 8-1 ending. The last time a score like this popped up on your screen was back in May in a 3-game skid against LA. Green Jackets ending their own trip to Fayetteville. The Woodpeckers picked up 3 in the 4th and 3 in the 7th. Saved that 5 times fast. The 7th, Jeremy Celandonio brought in their only runs with a right center homer. In the 9th, they had home, taking 1 out of the 3.
Well, checking in for our Pray for Rain segment, didn't see any rainfall in Aiken or Augusta today, so things were mostly dry. Now I'm going to toss things over to Neil and Chase over in Studio B for a check and your law call.
Thank you, Emily. Tonight's topic, workers' compensation.
Well, going to be a very hot week in store for us. Might even be the hottest week that we've seen so far this season. So going to possibly see the triple digits by the time we hit Tuesday and really through Thursday. Friday looks a little bit cooler, 97. Looks great, a little bit cooler, Craig, at 97. Going to be in the lower 90s, though, for our weekend. So definitely going to get some relief there. Overnight lows going to be anywhere from those lower to middle 70s. So very hot week. It's the middle of July, though. Really can't ask for anything else.
Call it a throwback because the 90s are all that in terms of the weather. Well, thank you for joining us here on News 12 at 11. I'm Craig Allison, but be sure to stick around for our guys at Law Call coming up after this.